Welcome to Crypto Clothesline. We're glad to be here with you. Hanging out the crypto laundry. Getting all the crypto info for you. Crypto Clothesline.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello, Abheeti. How you going?
Oh, did you want the real answer or did you want the happy girl answer?
I need the happy girl answer today.
Yep, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
I actually had my car broken into. Well, actually, everybody in my street had their car broken into. That's an exaggeration. Every second house who thought that they were safe had their cars broken into, which is me, who doesn't lock their car and gets in trouble all the time for not locking my car.
Wow. Why don't you lock your car?
Full sense of security, because I live in a sweet pad, maybe. I don't know. Because we're in an estate, it's sort of, it's quite secure, and there's nothing really in my car except for usually a couple of coins and a GPS, and everything else is, it's empty. So, and I have had my car broken into like 3 times before, so I have no excuse.
Wow. So did you get anything taken?
So this is the awesome part. Someone's watching over me. They only took my gold coin from my center console. And my GPS, I guess because it's got a cracked screen, was also not taken.
Oh, wow. So now you can still get places.
Yeah, I do have a road book, but that's still in mint condition.
My kids are learning the alphabet, like alphabetical order. Like I remember having to learn how to use a dictionary, and my children now are like, Mum, how do I find this word? I'm like, I can't believe it. You don't know how to find words. Like so many things that were important, I feel that were important in my education are completely defunct in my kids. It's bizarre.
Are you serious? They're not learning about alphabetical order anymore?
Well, they might be, but my kids still like they think it's a real hoot if I tell them to look up a street, and they've got to try and work out which letter comes after which letter. Yeah, in the UBD, we've got it sitting in the back of the car, and it's kind of like car entertainment.
At least you've got car entertainment. I've just got Screamsville in the back seat usually.
Screamsville or Screensville?
As in, we don't have screens in the car.
Which is the worst of two evils, Screamsville or Screensville?
They're both up there. But yeah, so I had this idea, and I think it goes well. It's a nice intro with the guest that we have, Daniel, who's coming up in a moment. But I had this idea about how I think IOTA is doing some work at the moment. IOTA is a cryptocurrency not based on blockchain, but based on directed acyclic graph, and they are going to be connecting vehicles by, putting microchips in them, and they'll be sort of like connected on a database where you can track them and also track the whole life of the vehicle. And so I was thinking that what I would have loved is if there was some sort of alert. So if all cars were connected somehow, and let's say if some unusual activity happens where a car in the street was opened one after the other. Imagine if you could, computer would be able to say, or artificial intelligence would be able to say, in this particular area, we have, sequentially, we've got cars being opened or cars being accessed at the same, just one after the other, doors being left open, and, to be able to create a mechanism that would be able to track that behavior.
It gives me an image of everyone in your street, like being in synchronized swimming and everybody wanting to upset the AI. So they go, okay, I'm going to go out 20 seconds after you, and you all dive out into your lounge, into your driveways, open up your car and sit there and wait for AI to get really poopy.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Synchronized and one after the other. It's just that there's no mechanisms, there's nothing available to police or anyone to be able to track vehicles who are getting broken into. And a lot of the time people lose their cars, like they're stolen, and they're never found again.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. I mean, I know that police are already tracking cars, anyway, if there's cars people that haven't paid their registration or whatever. A policeman was telling me that they get apparently it's been around for ages, that something beeps in the console in the police car when you drive past them. So that's why they're picking you up on freeways and things if you actually, have forgotten to pay your reg or whatever.
Yeah, something would have to be coming soon, I guess, if they've already got that technology. I mean, it just feels like people's cars get broken into all the time.
Yeah.
And there's still nothing. I mean, we're in 2018. They just sent a car to space. Yet, there's still no technology to sort of alert people to their cars being broken. It's terrible.
I think I'm sure with car break-ins and similar sort of so-called petty crimes like that. And I don't think it's very petty because I've had mine broken into 3 times since we've been in this fabulous new house. But it feels like that there's just not enough people power to deal with all the BS going on. And so that they have their sort of, their triage and their order of operations, and car break-ins are not right up there with their priority of, taking care of the community. I heard that recently in the city that I live in, and I know we were discussing yesterday how dodgy this city is, but that they're actually doubling. They're doubling the police community. So they have this notion of wanting to create more of a sense of community and people to feel safe. They're doubling the police force over here. I don't quote me on that because I'd need to double check the sources, but I just remember hearing that one line and thinking, gosh, does that mean that there will actually be police coming around? Because there's a general sense that the police are not readily available to help you out if you're in a pickle.
I have to agree. The Ambos are pretty good though. Yeah. They're there in like a second. I think that's good. I don't know, if I was robbed or something absolutely terrible happened, I think police would be very quick, but perhaps and I don't know if this is true now. I do know that there are priorities. I was going to be a police officer when I left high school. I spent nearly 2 years doing the training. At that time, the police force was going through the new, we're not a force, we're a service. You cannot call us a police force. Anyway, so that was during that time. Ever since then, as far as I know from what I've been following, they are undermanned, underwomaned, undermanned. They don't have enough. And, the fact that they're doubling their police service is probably, they're just going to come up to the required number, I guess.
Oh, it's a total given, I think, that it's underpersoned. Because it really is. I mean, we're so PC, underpersoned.
Well, you know what? Police service is pretty good with having an equal amount of, very similar amount of men and women in the service. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the time when I'm going around, I see a lot of women with their massive guns around their waist. So...
All right, so today we're going to be meeting with Mr. Daniel Woodroof, who is in Singapore but Malaysian born. And when we actually got to talk to him a little bit more, we learnt a little bit more about his sort of upbringing and his personal life. He's really quite a star, isn't he? I didn't realize.
I didn't realize, and I am known for my research skills, but I didn't realize he was practically famous. So I'm glad he told us that after the interview, because otherwise I would have been like, oh, blah, 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 blah,
Well, we thought we were meeting an executive from BitCar, and we were, but it turns out that Daniel's got quite a bit more up his sleeve than that, and it was an absolute pleasure, meeting him and chatting to him. He's a really funny guy. He is by far the youngest person, I think, that we've had on our show so far, although we do have some younger members due to appear hopefully very soon.
We do have some people coming, some kids actually. That's going to be really fun. I can't wait for that. He's very impressive and gives me some hope in the next generation because he is a high achiever. I mean, not to give much away, but I mean, he's a racing car driver and he's got like his own show. So now I've told my daughter, you're going to have to step up, girl. We just met someone who's like double your age.
That would make him 12.
Oh, yeah. Whatever. You know what I mean? He looks...
Maybe 4 times her age, I'm not sure. But no, he was great. He was an absolute laugh. And unfortunately, at one point, the local electricity company cut the wires and I completely lost contact with both of you, which was such a good look, such a professional feeling. So that was fabulous that you were able to finish up with Daniel.
Anyway, it turned out really well.
Yeah. Well, remember Kathy said a couple of shows ago, Kathy Roberts some guy said to her, if you're going to have a shit fit every time technology packs up, then don't do my course. Well, pretty much, we're running podcasts, but hey, things go wrong sometimes.
Abheeti, we don't do anything in real life. We are always on technology. So we have no choice but to roll with the punches in this one, I think.
All right, well, let's have a listen. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Are we ready to get started?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm so ready. Look how clean and schmicky is.
Got Marina Bay Sands just outside. So
Whoa.
makes the long nights and early mornings not so bad.
That's even more groovy. Well, welcome to Crypto Clothesline. We're super excited to have you on here.
Thank you very much. And you ladies are both in Brisbane?
Well, I'm in Perth.
I live in Brisbane, but I'm in Perth at the moment.
Fair enough. I do miss Australia.
Oh, you do? So you're originally from Australia, Daniel?
No, my dad's from England, my mum's from Malaysia, so I'm a halfie, but I spent a bit of time in Perth over the last few months.
Halfie? I've never heard that. I've heard of a selfie.
I'm of mixed race, so...
I think we all are, though. If we go back through our DNA, which I never would do, but if we did, we were all such a mixed salad. It's so fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Daniel, how do I get a share in a Lambo?
Yeah, so that's where BitCar really comes into play. So what we do is we allow people to own fractions of exotic supercars, but the number one misconception we have is that we're a ride-sharing platform. We are 100% not a ride-sharing platform. That idea has existed for years and years and is nothing new. What we are doing is allowing people to have access to the best performing asset class in the world. And if you take all the different asset classes that you could put your money into, you've essentially got gold, silver, the S&P 500, property, the list really does go on. The best performing asset class, and one that not many people know about, is exotic collectible cars. And this can encapsulate classic cars, supercars, hypercars, like specific types of Lamborghinis, as you mentioned. The inherent problem with this asset class is that most people don't have access to it, purely because to own a Lamborghini, you're going to have a lot of money, right?
A lot of Bitcoin.
A lot of Bitcoin, yeah. But with BitCar, it's now Lambo because we make it accessible. We essentially represent the title of the car digitally on the blockchain with these asset tokens, and it essentially means that you can buy and purchase, fractions, tiny, small percentages of these cars, which makes it affordable. But at the same time, you're benefiting from the, what has historically been the best performing asset class. And that really is kind of our first angle of approach with the entire company. Another kind of unique selling point that we provide is that of a stable coin. So we do have a dual token economy, and the ownership in these cars, the title of these cars, are represented on the blockchain through these asset tokens. And these asset tokens act as a stable coin because they're backed by physical hard metal assets. We're seeing crazy amounts of crypto volatility at the moment, as I'm sure you're both very aware. I personally wished we had BitCar a couple months ago before the crypto market really hit the red, as we're all seeing. And yeah, quite frankly, though, the price of a collector Ferrari isn't going to drop in value in half overnight. So by pegging the value of these asset tokens to the US dollar, you have a tether-like effect that kind of shields users from crypto volatility. And I think that's another massive takeaway that the BitCar platform provides.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Let's just say I put a couple of grand into a share of probably a vintage car would be right up my alley.
Yeah. So we're looking at collectible vintage cars or collectible new hypercars. You can go from anything like a 1960s Ferrari 250 GTO all the way up to a Bugatti Chiron.
Okay.
We don't actually have any of the cars on the platform yet because we're still in our ICO stage. But that is the next step in our roadmap. And while we do have a list of cars that we're looking at, we can't actually disclose what they are for fear of being priced out. But that's coming at around Q3 of this year, so we're expecting a lot of hype to be coming about around then.
So Daniel, can I just ask, when you say it's in the ICO stage, we know what you're talking about. Could you break that down for someone who has no idea what an ICO is?
Sure. So an ICO stands for an initial coin offering, and I guess it's an alternative for companies to raise money outside of your normal kind of venture capital, etc. And it's a way for cryptocurrency or blockchain companies to raise money in exchange for creating a native cryptocurrency. So in our case, we've produced 500 million BitCar tokens, and 250 million of those tokens are up for sale in this ICO. And we're selling them in this allocated time period for 10 cents a token. So you can buy that on our website. So in exchange for the token, we get some money raising.
Let's pretend that I've decided that I want to go and buy some, and I've got $20 or $100, and I go and I say, okay, I'm going to buy $100 worth of these tokens. What happens then?
Sure. So during our ICO, if you want to buy some BitCar tokens, you hop onto our website, bitcar.io, and there's a nice yellow button that says buy tokens. So you click that, and with many ICOs, you need either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin would be your top three to buy in. But we've been listening to our audience, and we've also enabled a payment processor, Payeer, to allow people to purchase these tokens with a credit card. All you need is a ERC20 compliant wallet, so that will actually allow you to receive the BitCar tokens at the end of it. You don't want to just buy these tokens, and so yeah, a load of options available for people.
And would you break that down for somebody who has no idea what an ERC20
It's a type of Ethereum coin, so it's the coin that we use for our platform. You need to find a wallet that's compatible with that type of token.
So for listeners, what Daniel's talking about is a cold storage wallet, or a place where you can store your cryptocurrencies, in this case, the BitCar token.
I don't know if Abheeti touched on this briefly, but like I've always wanted a Chrysler. You know, like I want a big grill, I want to be gangster, I want to be hardcore, right? And I see them, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could just put my kids in that, take them to a private school, bam, I'm that hot mum, right? But if I want to have a little bit, am I able to drive that car, or do I just have to share in?
So, to be frank, most Chryslers probably wouldn't make it on our platform. We tend to target cars that have historically appreciated over time. Many people correctly point out that cars are generally depreciating assets, which is why we target the kind of ultra rare collectible vehicles. Think of your like LaFerraris and other kind of classic hypercars, or classic supercars, and your newer hypercars. You know, to answer your question, on the trading platform, yes, you would essentially, for lack of a better comparison, own shares in a car of your choice. That being said, you can actually go on to our kind of portfolio of cars available. You'd have your BitCar tokens, and then you go, cool, I want a bit of a Ferrari, and I'll exchange some BitCar tokens for that. And then you get your Ferrari tokens in return. And then you find a classic Lamborghini, and then you'd be like, cool, I want $200 worth of this Lamborghini Miura. I'll exchange my BitCar tokens for that. So you're exchanging BitCar tokens, which is our utility token that you buy in our ICO, and in exchange, to prove your ownership, you get asset tokens that are renamed after the cars themselves. Do you get to drive them outright? No. So for initially you just become a part owner of the car. But a new announcement we've made over the last few weeks is that over time we actually allow you to trade your way to full ownership of the car. So you could start with 20% ownership in a Lamborghini, but what we allow is for you to actually trade your way eventually up to 100%. And at that point, you become the full owner of the car, and we actually allow you to either keep the car on the platform or take it for yourself.
Wow. So it's actually an investment as opposed to, sorry if I'm sounding a bit rude, but an ego trip. Say, like, I'm trying to work out. I was instantly coming to mind all those guys who talk about the Lambo to the moon. I mean, isn't that such a classic? So it's not that they actually get to drive the cars. It's not that they actually get to look like, hot men driving cars. It's actually about a really clever investment option.
So, well, we don't actually like to use the word investment, but you can buy in. No worries. You can buy into the car for its historical price appreciation, and then infer from there what you will. But you make a correct statement there in saying that there is a potential for that kind of egotistical trip, and it's why the BitCar platform actually appeals to so many people. When people ask us who your target market is, we kind of say everyone. And I know it's not the best thing to say, to be extremely vague and broad. But if you break it down, the stable coin element appeals to people with lots of cryptocurrency. You know, if you don't want to off-ramp that cryptocurrency that you've made through trading or however else into, you know, fiat currency, you don't want to keep it in its volatile form, at least now. So what we offer is a way for you to off-ramp that into another cryptocurrency that's stable. So we definitely appeal to cryptocurrency holders there. Another group of people we appeal to. Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, I was just going to say, fiat currency is back into cash. So if you've got your
Yes.
currency and you want to translate it back into fiat, it's actually translating it back into cash. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah. And there are a load of issues there depending on what jurisdiction you're in, whether it's tax or issues with the bank. So if you want to keep it in cryptocurrency form, we offer that stable coin. Second target market is the car enthusiasts, and that is a huge market in of itself. You know, just to say that you do own a bit of a hypercar that you wouldn't necessarily ever own in your life, unfortunately, which is the case for most people, you now can say that you legitimately do. So I think it's really, really cool, and it appeals to a lot of people, whether they see the value in the asset class or whether they just like cars in general.
Daniel, I've got preteen sons, and I say unfortunately for me because it's not my cup of tea, but Fast and Furious has become a part of our life.
Love it.
Do you see BitCar being somehow part of a sponsorship program with Fast and Furious? Like
Yeah.
part 8, or maybe it's up to 9, I can't remember. But they seem to go through so many cars.
Maybe for the 15th movie that comes out. I love it. Fast and Furious is a staple movie in any family's diet.
Not any family, preteen boys. Well,
Yeah, true.
That's where I'm at now.
I would know. Who knows? You know, we are looking at a lot of, you know, sponsorship opportunities down the line, different partnerships. As far as partnerships go, at the moment, we've already signed deals with Dadiani Syndicate in London. They're a Mayfair art gallery who were made pretty popular online recently for facilitating the purchase of 4 Formula One cars entirely in Litecoin with a value of £4 million. So they've been a fantastic partner to have. On top of that, we've also got a partnership with Moon Lambos. You can check out their website at moonlambos.io.
Let's start Moon Lambos.
Yeah. So they actually allow people to buy supercars in in the UK and the US entirely in cryptocurrency. And BitCar as a token is now one of the 4 tokens, I think, that have been accepted. So it's an awesome little partnership there as well.
So you're also building a collaborative model. We're seeing a lot of collaboration in the world of crypto, and it's fantastic to hear that in this field also that's happening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, partnerships for us are extremely important to actually access these cars that we want to acquire on the platform. It requires a lot of partnerships as well. And we're just seeing how the BitCar utility token, the BitCar token that we're selling during our ICO, has applications outside of, you know, buying into fractions of exotic cars. And it really shows that BitCar really could be the definitive token in the automotive industry further down the roadmap.
Absolutely. I think also when you were talking about vintage sort of cars, the only reason why I keep bringing that up is because my father-in-law collects vintage cars. He has many. A lot of them aren't 100%, but he's part of numerous car clubs. Slightly obsessed, has not much else but vintage cars. And I was talking to him about cryptocurrency last night. Didn't tell him about this interview today, but he turned his nose up. It's too much, he's like 100 sort of thing. So he's obviously like taken aback by cryptocurrency. But going to him with this, he's quite prominent in his car clubs. He's been in for like 50 years or something. Are you approaching these car clubs to get on board? Because you see them going up and down the highways, all these dudes and with their retro looking chicks and their polka dot stuff, going up and down freeways and these big, car trains traveling, on their little weekend trips. They look cool. I don't know, not my thing, but are you approaching these car clubs? Because it seems to me like that would be a massive industry to get in on.
Yeah. Well, I have been in talks with a couple car clubs, some in Australia, some in other countries. And, you know, I definitely think it'll appeal to them from the standpoint that they get to own bits of more cars than they already do own. Fortunately, right now, the model doesn't allow people to own a bit of a car and then drive in the car club, like a ride-sharing model would suggest. But, you know, we are looking at tapping into that community because, like I said before, you know, the car enthusiasts, the car freaks, as we all call ourselves, are kind of the next market we're targeting. During this ICO, we've been really focused on targeting the cryptocurrency market. Obviously, there's a lot less of a barrier to entry in terms of explaining the concept, at least for now. So now that we've already raised X amount of money, I think we're on 9.2 million Singapore dollars at the moment. We're really, you know, making a bit more of a pivot towards the car enthusiasts and explaining the value behind our platform.
I think that's going to be awesome when they get on board.
But what I love about BitCar is that whether or not you understand cryptocurrencies, you get cars. You know, most people get cars. You use them every single day. So, you know, it really does appeal to the people in a broader sense.
And you talked about being in Singapore. You were originally a Perth-based company, is that correct?
No, so we've actually always been a Singaporean company. We've got one or two, you know, team members that may be there from time to time, but the whole team is here in Singapore. And as I showed you guys earlier, the view of Marina Bay Sands isn't bad either.
And can you also reiterate how it works in terms of blockchain and the whole transparency? How does blockchain play a part in BitCar?
Sure. So obviously we have the token economy that is facilitated by blockchain. So you have your utility token, which is the kind of native cryptocurrency to the platform, and then you have your asset tokens, which represent ownership in the car. So you can exchange the utility token, the BitCar token, for asset tokens in a car or in a collection of cars of your choice. The way blockchain comes into play is actually, on top of that, is our peer-to-peer trading platform. So we as BitCar are fully decentralized. Once the cars are actually onboarded onto the platform, we really take a step back, and it's smart contracts that run the operation. What we actually offer is a peer-to-peer trading exchange between users for bits of these collectible cars. So I could trade bits of my Ferrari to you, and you can trade with me bits of your Lamborghini, so on and so forth. That immutability is very important in terms of making sure that there's only 100% of the car that ever exists. You're not ever selling more or less.
So Daniel, I do have a question. What drew you to BitCar? What is it about BitCar and your history that got you involved in it in the first place?
Yeah, so I think I actually kind of fell into it by accident. My professional background is that of motorsports, so I'm a professional race car driver. I've been racing since the age of 12 and representing my home country of Malaysia around the world. So I've done international karting championships and single-seater racing, and even been involved with people like Porsche and Audi. And kind of moving on from that, I've also got experience in the entertainment industry. So I'm a TV host on Fox Sports 3, as well as Discovery Asia with my own TV shows. Aside from those kind of passions and that background, I've got a love for disruptive technology. A couple of years ago, I actually worked alongside some of the core team at BitCar on another project back in my home country of Malaysia, and that's how we really started to get to know each other. So last year, our co-founder, Gov Van Eck, called me up and he's like, Dan, I've got the perfect project for you. Supercars, cryptocurrency, blockchain. I said, sign me up. When do I fly down? And the rest is really history. So it's been awesome kind of jumping into the black hole that is cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Kind of just get sucked in, as I'm sure is the case for you as well.
I haven't been able to climb my way out of this hole. And I don't even want to. I like this big black hole.
No, exactly. Yeah, we're all in it together. So that's pretty much how I got involved. And it's great to see how blockchain technology works in, you know, the non-financial applications to it all.
That's right. And just for a little bit of perspective for the listeners, what you just heard was a lifetime of experience. And I'm sitting in front of Daniel at the moment, and he looks about 19 or 21. So
21.
He's a
Warren Farrell.
He's like very impressive, and I think that's why we're interviewing you, because you've got, I think you might have a lot of brains behind this whole BitCar thing. So I really appreciate the time that you've spent with us today. I know that you've obviously got some racing car driving to do today. around.
I wish, yeah. around Marina Bay Sands, yeah.
Yeah. That's something you'd see in the movies, but you've probably done that too, because you're on TV. Anyway, thank you so much for talking to us, Daniel. Really.
No, thank you. I love what you guys are doing, so keep it up. Thank
you, Daniel. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
So how good was that? How good is Daniel from BitCar?
He's so funny. He was like, it was quite a hard concept to describe how BitCar works. It wasn't sort of easy to roll off the tongue, was it?
Well, no. And, in my head, I was thinking, and I think everybody is when they think BitCar, getting a bit of a car. I just imagined that, there'd be a bunch of us getting together at a yearly sort of event and driving some sweet cars. But that's not the case. It's not actually driving cars around. It's buying pieces of cars, owning a little bit.
He said it's a very little known asset class, and that's really interesting because I wouldn't. And he also mentioned that most people say, well, when you buy a car, it depreciates. But he was saying that there are certain cars that actually increase in their value with time, but that you could, in due course, look at accumulating a physical car if you wanted to, like if you get other people's BitCar coins.
Do you know what it sounded like when he was saying that? It sounded like rent to buy. But then eventually, because you've put so much into it, you pretty much own it. And it seems heaps like this fridge I used to rent to buy.
Oh, right. I was thinking about those rent to buy houses where you rent and rent and rent, and a portion of your rent goes towards buying the house eventually.
I don't know. It might be similar to that.
I think it's slightly different from that. I think it's from the way he described it, because people think that they're getting a portion of a car. It's like, okay, I can drive. I was getting this image that I could drive a car for like 10 minutes a week or something. Not that I'm really wanting to, but anyway, he made it quite clear that it was a very different concept, that you actually acquired the opportunity to become part of an asset class that most people are not aware of and most people don't actually take advantage of.
And you know what? It's going to be so new to people. It's not just a blockchain thing, but the whole idea is so revolutionary. And I always say the word revolutionary. I throw that shit around all the time. But it is. Like, this idea is awesome. No one would buy a share in my car. That is for sure. But if I was driving around a sweet rig, I'd drive around and I would look pretty cool. I'd do the run up the main street and obviously feel really sexy. And
Rose, would you have dice with or without the dice? The fluffy dice.
I would obviously have dice, and they would be pink and fluffy. And
pink and
that. I'm just really grateful that Daniel came on the show. He was an absolute pleasure, extremely informative, and
he also, what I also really liked about Daniel was that he just kept laughing, like he kept laughing with us. But we laugh at ourselves a lot, and he was laughing at us too.
So are people still contributing to the ICO?
I was speaking to the marketing manager yesterday, Julia, and she was saying that the ICO's launch is finishing next week. Yeah, I think you've got until Friday next week, and then I'm not sure where they're going after that.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've got a week or so then. It works out really well. I mean, our listeners have a week if they're interested in BitCar to jump on board. All right. So till next week, Abheeti
explores the inner workings of your car, except maybe to change the oil for you.
I'm thinking of getting some sort of an electrical device and clamping it onto my car so that when they touch my door handles, they get zapped. And then it triggers a video camera that's going to watch them do it, and then I'm going to send it to the police.
Do you think you might get sued for people getting hurt because they've touched?
No, because police use tasers and you can't sue them.
But you're not a police person.
I don't know all the rules, but I think it would work.
Do you know, I used to have a childcare centre, and we had to have a special nib on the door so people could exit in a hurry. Right? So say there's a fire inside the house. Every single house, you're not actually supposed to be able to open the door with a key. You've got to be able to just flick one nib and open the door to be able to exit the property, right? And I was saying this was set up by the fire people. That's my technical term for those people that come in and check that your business is fire safe and all of that. And I said, but we've always got a key. And he goes, yeah, but imagine if there's a robber and a robber needs to get out in a real hurry because the place is on fire. And that's always stuck in my mind. It's like, oh, I've got to go and spend a couple of $100 so that I keep my robbers safe. It seems a little bit catch-22-ish to me.
That's hilarious. I totally get though, but it might not be a robber. It might just be someone browsing through your thing.
Yeah, like a hacker.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's it for this week. I will catch you later.
See you later, alligator.
Hello. Amy Rose here to make sure you know all about our upcoming webinars and our online crypto courses. So if you know a newbie, if your best friend has no idea what you're talking about when you say Bitcoin, or your mum is totally confused about why on earth you keep talking about invisible money, send them to our webinars. We cut out the tech talk and deliver a jam-packed session of crypto goodness every fortnight. And you're going to need more. So we've built an online course. It's 10 weeks of video tutorials, complimentary consultations where you can talk to myself or to Abheeti. There's quizzes, access to the closed Facebook group just for students with live videos and support, study guides, all without the tech talk. And it's just put simply for non-tech heads. And this is going to teach you everything you need to know about everything you need to get you started in crypto and to make informed decisions. You're going to learn the importance of security because that is our main focus of the course. And at the end, you're going to feel inspired and enriched and part of a community support network that's there to ensure you continue to feel empowered in this ever-evolving space, something that Abheeti and I didn't have when we started out. We virtually had no one, and all we could do was Google. So you've got this in a package delivered just for you. So check out the comments and the notes of our podcast for all the links. Otherwise, we'll see you next week in the podcast where at the end, we're probably going to tell you about our course again.
Crypto Clothesline.